Alright, howdy there folks, it's me again, Brandon Wenzel, your guide into all things martial arts cinema related. Why? Because of course, I know Kung Fu. So, there we go, that looks a little bit better. Okay then, now that that adjustment's been made. So, hopefully you watched my little premiere special features thing that I did for my last video. If you didn't, well, go fuck yourself. And you're just going to be out of the loop, because you won't know what movie I'm going over there and I'm going to review today. Well, what movie am I going to review? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Or maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just go over there and not tell you and just let the people who watched the special features thing. But I'm not going to do that. I'm a nicer guy than that. So, what movie am I going to review tonight? Yes, it is nighttime. Hence why I'm in yet another wacky location in my house. I'm in fact in my laundry room this time. Say what you will about it. It's well lit. So I gotta go for what I can, folks. So, what film am I reviewing tonight? Well, I have it in my hand underneath my beard. And it is in fact, BAM! The Wrath of Vajra. Now, why did I choose The Wrath of Vajra for my next review? Well, for one thing, we're now officially, because remember folks, it's now April. For realsies. We are officially off of the Cynthia Rothrock movie marathon. And so, I'd done so many Cynthia Rothrock films, and then of course before that, I'd done American Samurai and Ong Bak, and I wanted to do something, even though Ong Bak's kind of new-ish, not really at this point, but depending on the length of your attention span, I wanted to do something that was it was brand new, a little bit more contemporary, because maybe, you know, if you're watching this, you know, maybe you're not, like, so into the older stuff, you know, maybe you're a little younger, you know, maybe you've just recently gotten in the exposure of martial arts cinema, and so I figured, you know what, I want to do something that's brand spanking new, and, you know, something that, I literally just picked this up a few weeks ago and watched it, and I just thought, this is a pretty cool movie, that's why I'm going to review it, because it's new, and it's cool, and it's contemporary, and I just felt like it would be a good fit for my next review. Hopefully you agree. If you don't, then start your own damn review show, and you can review whatever the fuck you want. I started mine with a tablet and a bunch of DVDs to stack my tablet on. So, let's get into the review. Da-da-da-da-da. Wait, no, that's synopsis. I need to keep things... Alright. So, Wrath of Vajra, 2013 film, only recently came out here in the good old US of A. I don't know where you are, North Korea, you know, or wherever you might be. But it just recently came out here. It came out from Well Go USA. I'm going to give them a little bit of a plug. I do like them very much. They generally do a very good job with their DVDs and Blu-rays. So, yay, Well Go USA. Pay me some money for saying that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. So, this film was directed by a guy named Law Wing Chung. Who's Law Wing Chung, you ask? As I drink my pumpkin beer. Odd choice, pumpkin beer, but why not? Honestly, Law Wing Chung's not really much of anybody. I looked the guy up. Been around for a little while, directing films and assistant directing, but really nothing super holy shit. Though he is directing the new Iceman, I think it's the Iceman Cometh, Donnie Yen Martial Arts Spectacular that's coming out or came out. I'm not exactly sure. It hasn't come out here, that's all I know. Which, truth be told, I don't really care that much about. But he directed that, so good for him. He's apparently moving up in the world. So, that's who directed it. Well, who stars in it? Well, it's a guy named Xing Yu. Now, if you're like me, and you may or you may not be, but you're probably not, because you're probably not doing a review show from your laundry room in your basement due to lack of good lighting in your house. But you might be. You might be. But I did it first, so I don't care if you copy my format, but at least give me some credit. But if you're like me in other ways, and you've been following martial arts cinema, Xing Yu is probably a guy who, you're actually familiar with. He's been around for a while now. I think he got his start like in the late 90s or early 2000s. And he's just been kind of, he's been doing things a little bit here or there, and I think his role in Stephen Chow's film Kung Fu Hustle, he played one of the 3 martial arts masters at the beginning of the film. I think that was kind of the thing that sort of kind of got him going, a little bit more so. Because after that, I mean, he did Flashpoint with Donnie Yen, Fatal Contact with Wu Jing. I mean, he's been in some films. But if you're like me, you were probably waiting for this guy to get like a really solid role. He'd play these like guys who could kick ass and stuff like that, but he just never really hit kind of a leading thing. And then all of a sudden, this film arrives. Directed by a director who's not a high-profile director, who's, stars a main character who's not a high-profile actor, that has a villain that's not a high-profile villain. Which, I mean, I don't know how well this film did domestically in China or, even or internationally or wherever. But, I mean, I hope that it, it got an American release through Well Go USA. My hope is that, maybe it was a bit of a sleeper hit. I mean, it's great. It was great getting to see Xing Yu in a lead role. And Xing Yu, a little thing on Xing Yu, the guy is he's like a 13th generation martial monk of Shaolin. Not shitting you on that. Like, this is a guy who, you take your Donnie Yens, you take your Jackie Chans, even your Tony Jaa to a certain extent, and I mean, you take these guys, and they're awesome, film fighters, and legitimately, I mean, Donnie Yen is a legitimate martial artist, Tony Jaa is a legitimate martial artist, but Xing Yu is a legitimate martial monk. I mean, that's pretty heavy shit right there, right? Right. So anyway, I mentioned the villain. Villain is played by a guy named Steve Yu Seong Jun. I'm gonna call him Steve, just for fucking. But Steve, he's Korean, and I actually looked the guy up. Didn't have a lot of acting credits, though. If you recently saw the Keanu Reeves film that came out not too long ago, Man of Tai Chi, he was the poor son of a bitch who got killed at the beginning of that by Keanu Reeves. So that's pretty cool, right? But apparently, besides that, I guess he was a huge Korean pop star before he got kind of deported, and it's a whole I'm not getting involved in South Korean politics. North Korean politics, I've got it down, but South Korean politics, no, thank you. I wash my hands of it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the synopsis, because it's been almost 10 minutes, and I've just been explaining things about things. So, synopsis. I love my synopsis thing. Fuck you if you don't. I don't care. I like doing what I do. Okay, so the synopsis film. What's this film about, right? Okay. Specifically, K-29. Yay, K-29. Who is the main character in this film? Why is he K-29? Well, because he's not K-28, because the villain's K-28. Why is he not K-30? I don't know. He's just not. Okay, so the film starts off. You've got 2 guys who... I want to go into them, but I probably should wait. Well, I'll go into a little bit. The movie takes place, it starts off with kind of a text opening, which I actually like, personally. I don't know, some people I know are not big fans of it, but I like a little background. It's a quick, easy way to do it. So the movie starts off, a little text thing, basically explaining about how there was this death cult that was started by a guy who basically tried to, like, undermine the religious spiritualism of China and things like that. And he was doing his whole thing, and then basically World War II happened, and the Japanese military were like, we're not super sure we're big into a death cult, just kind of doing whatever they want, because that's rarely a good plan. Not usually a good plan. So they're like, alright, we gotta stop that. So they imprisoned the guy who started it. Well, who started it? None other than the oh-so-amazing Yasuaki Kurata-san. And I say son because I mean it with all respect. Yasuaki Kurata-san, who I'm not going to go into everything, I will get into it in my special feature segment, but let's just say he is the coolest goddamn guy on the planet. That's all I need to say. But he's the guy who started the cult. Now the Japanese have basically decided, since they've taken over a lot of China, but they haven't really managed to suppress the Chinese spirit. So they figure the best way to do this, let's get that death cult started. What happened to that thing? That was a hell of an idea. We should do that again. So, death cult. Gotta start up a death cult, right? Okay. So, they explained to him that, look, you get the death cult thing going and, really build some momentum with it, and we'll let you out of prison. You've been in prison for like 15 years, and you're just by yourself, and on top of that, you're all death cult Japanese guy and everything like that, so I don't even think you masturbate or anything like that, because you're all like strict and Japanese and regimented and stuff. I don't think Japanese, well, I know they don't fuck a lot. Japanese people, that's not a thing, that is a fact. Japanese people do not fuck a lot. Which, by the way, I know there's like a whole thing where it's like, well, because of population and they're not going to have a lot of people because nobody's fucking. I would like to enlist my services, by the way, if the very fine ladies of Japan need a good hard fucking, by all means call Brandon Wetzel. I would love it. Anyway, that's completely off subject. Anyway, so okay. Terribly unprofessional. So okay, alright. Gotta go on from there. Alright, so he's gotta enlist somebody because he's still kind of in prison, so he's gotta go talk to somebody. Well, who's that? Well, it's K28, aka our friend Steve. Steve, as it turns out, is pretty much the most devoted practitioner of this whole cult thing, where they used to go over there and basically take orphans from pretty much any nationality, race, creed, culture, whatever, and indoctrinate them into this death cult, which basically is like it really is just sort of like a very extreme version of Darwinism. It's just, it's a fairly simple, strong beats the weak, and that's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, it really doesn't go into anything beyond that. I know there's like it's called the Hades cult, by the way, I just remembered that. And there's kind of a little, but it's pretty much just the whole, like I said, Darwinism thing. Wolves becoming dogs and all that shit. Anyway, so he explains to him, look, you gotta do stuff for me. I need you to go over to China. I want you to undermine the Shaolin Temple and break them down and spread my teachings to the world so that way I can get the fuck out of Dodge, aka prison. Help me out. Okay, so Steve's a cool guy, and he's like, alright, I'll do that. I'm gonna do that. So, he goes over there with some of his other cronies. They don't really show it, but they go over there and they, start up a death cult. Good times, death cult. Apparently it's pretty easy to start up a death cult when you have a giant and a creepy monkey guy, and I'll go into that in a minute. Anyway, so who's our main character, right? Well, like I said, he's K29. And, by the whole thing, K29, K28 thing, you might have figured out, well, he used to be part of the death cult, too. In fact, him and K28 were the Steve, aka Steve. They were like the two best guys in the death cult, right? They're like, death cult. But when everything kind of fell apart the first time, well, K29, aka Xing Yu, he was like, dude, fuck this. This is a bad... Why would anybody be in a death cult? It's such a bad time. It's just, it literally has death in the name of the cult. You're not going to have a good time. It's not like wild, crazy sex cult where it's like, okay, now there's different ways that could go. Like, that could be awesome or terrible. Death cult, pretty much just going to be bad, right? Yeah. So he's like, fuck that. He becomes a Shaolin disciple, trying to harness all of his power. But of course, he's got a burden by his own hatred and all that stuff that Shaolin kind of, frowns upon. And so he can't really reach his full potential. But he's still Xing Yu, damn it. So of course he's going to beat some ass. So, in the meantime, Death Cult's doing its thing. It's capturing prisoners of war, trying to indoctrinate them into their whole thing. And if you don't like it, then they'll beat the hell out of you, and, that whole thing. And then, they go over there and grab some kids, because they gotta start them young. And unfortunately for them, one of those kids happens to be one of Xing Yu's little, Shaolin monk friends. So, of course, he's gotta go get him back, because, that's not cool. Don't just take kids. It's not fun for anyone. So Xing Yu shows the hell up, right? And he's like, well, I'm here to beat some ass, and guess who I'm going to beat up? I'm going to beat up your giant. Giant, by the way, is a guy named Zhang Bao Chen. Or Bao Chen. Bao Cheng. Yes. Zhang Bao Cheng. Something like that. Who I'm not going to go into, but he's a big giant. He's a big giant guy. It's what he does for a living. He just walks around and he's a big giant guy. And occasionally appears in movies as a big giant guy. So Xing Yu shows up, and he just floors everybody, because he's fucking Xing Yu. And so he goes over there, and he royally wrecks fucking poor Giant Man, because poor Giant Man was a bit of a dick, and, he needed his ass kicked, really. I mean, he was a prick. Pricks need to get their fucking heads kicked in. So, that's what Xing Yu does. And, in the meantime, there's some other little kind of, little things. Some of the other prisoners are kind of important. Some of them were former Death Cult people like Xing Yu. And who are they? Well, most of them aren't terribly important. I'm being entirely... No offense to them. I looked them up, though. They're just not terribly important. But one of them, kind of the de facto leader of their group, is Matt Mullins of Naperville. Why do I call him Matt Mullins of Naperville? Because, goddammit, Naperville is in Illinois, which is where I live. So, fuck you. We at least have one badass guy from our goddamn state. And actually, we have plenty, but he's Matt Mullins of Naperville. That's just how I declare him. And I'll go into him more in my little side thing. But he's Matt Mullins of Naperville, damn it, and he plays a little side guy. And, what else happens in film? I swear I prepared for this. I actually did. So in any case, in the meantime, Yasuaki Kurata-san's over there, and he's just toiling away, just doesn't have anything to do with it. Literally, when you see the guy, he's just in a cell by himself, just kneeling. And it's just like, does he do, you have to imagine even the guards are kind of like, does he do that all day? What the fuck? It's a little creepy. And other guards are Death Cult. Yeah, fair enough, Death Cult. So, yeah, I guess it's not that weird, really, all things considered, what he could be doing. So in the meantime, they really, oddly enough, they just kind of let Xing Yu kind of have the run of the compound while they work up other bosses to fight for him. In the meantime, there's this cute little, this cute girl who's like a photographer for she's like a reporter for the Death Cult. She's Yasuaki Kurata-san's daughter. Tremendously cute. I kind of looked her up. She'd done a few things, but nothing I was really familiar with. Very, very cute, though. And good for her. This is a good role for her, I think. I think. What the fuck do I... I know. I've got her career planned out. Oh, man. It'd be cool if I did that, right? But I don't have that power yet. I'm working on it, right? That's for, hopefully, this whole thing. Become the Martin, or fucking, I want to shut the fuck up and get back to my review now, because I'm just prattling on. Anyway, so, film progresses, people die, gotta go over there, like I said, he's gotta fight another boss. Who's another boss? He's gotta fight this dude named Crazy Monkey. Crazy Monkey, if you've seen the trailer for this, is the guy you will singularly focus on, because he is just this creepy, spindly bastard. Me and all my friends fucking thought that he had to have been, possessed or something, but he's not. He's just creepy and weird and super into the Death Cult and shit like that. Very cool little fucked up character to have in the film. And he's just creepy and weird. He's all, and his voice changes fucking pitch and tone frequently. Basically Gollum. If Gollum were a martial artist, he would have been crazy. How fucking cool would that be, right? Oh, somebody's got to make that shit happen. I want to see... Oh, come on. Let's have a Lord of the Rings fucking martial arts remake. Oh, come on. Oh, anyway. So, so Xing Yu fights the crazy monkey guy, and he's doing pretty well. You know, he's not doing as well as he was against the monster tard, but he's doing pretty good. You know, he's doing all right. And, by the way, the big guy, I thought about this earlier. I mean, it really would be like him fighting Michael Clark Duncan from the fucking Green Mile. That's just such a large guy. Anyway, that would be I'd love to see. Let's have Gollum fight Michael Clark Duncan from the Green Mile. That's what I want to see. But we get to see Xing Yu fight the monkey dude. And, you know, he does pretty well, but he gets a little assistance. Who does he get assistance from? Well, there's this little... He's basically the corpse carrier awayer guy. I don't know if there's a specific... There probably is, like, some sort of ye old title for that guy. But his job is just to carry away the corpses, and he's all disfigured and shit, so nobody pays him any mind. But they should! See, if I were in charge of the death cult, that would be the guy I would keep my fucking eye on the whole damn time. Seriously. Like, you never trust those guys. They're always up to something. But he goes over there and he helps out Xing Yu a little bit. So he can get the edge on Crazy Monkey Guy, and, well, he fucking puts his foot in his ass. Crazy Monkey's dead. Not exactly lamented. Seemed like a creepy, weird bastard who lived in a fucking cave. And may or may not have eaten people. It's not good what he did to those people. That's all I have to say. Anyway. So, alright, well, who's left, right? You've still got, you know, all those folks. You've still got Matt Mullins from Naperville. All the other prisoners. You've still got the little tiny kid who's very sad. He does not want to be there at all. Still got Yasuaki Kurata-san all locked up. Still got Steve just being Steve. Steve, by the way, Steve Yu in this, he is fucking amazing. Like, I don't know, I do not know the guy's background. I know he has like dance background stuff from his days as like a pop star for, you know, in Korea and stuff. I do not know if he has a martial arts background, but I would be surprised if he didn't. He is fucking ridiculous in this. And the whole time, he's kind of like, you know, he's sort of annoyed by Xing Yu's existence, because Xing Yu effectively chose the path that he didn't travel. And so they have this sort of like tension between the two of them, and, you know, that whole thing. And that makes for a pretty cool little thing that they do there. And of course, the movie's building up to the eventual ass kicking between the two of them. In the meantime, reporter girl, she's getting disillusioned about the whole death cult thing, because she's starting to think maybe a death cult wasn't the best way to spend my fucking early 20s, but it's like a bad internship. You just wash your hands of it and go work somewhere else. But it's a death cult. It's harder to do. Anyway. So, it all kind of like concludes in this big final fucking throwdown where they go over there, they've got the kids held hostage, and Steve and Xing Yu got to fight in the rain because it's super dramatic when you fight in the rain. Anybody who's seen these movies knows that. It's like a law. They've got to fight, and then like Matt Mullins in Naperville's got to save the kid. Save the kid and the kids. Then you got the reporter chick who's like doing her whole thing, and it's just like one big giant like whatcha at the end, fucking Hadouken. Hi Hadouken, you kiss my ass. Anyway, so that's okay. So that's, you know, it ends on the, you know, it doesn't end on that note. You know, of course, you have the big final epic throwdown between Steve and Xing Yu. Really cool, and, you know, of course it eventually comes in, you know, the thing that all these films eventually come to, with Xing Yu, rather, kind of having a realization, you know, because, well, it turns out that weird guy, you know, the ye old fucking corpse flinger, turns out that, you know, he was Xing Yu's classmate from the death cult back in the day, who Xing Yu thought that he killed, but he didn't. he's alive, now he's happy, now he can go over there and unleash his full kung fu potential and beat the crap out of Steve, right? Right. Wrong, actually. Actually, usually in those instances, he just massacres the guy. But actually, no, he did still actually a good fight from that point on. So anyway, the two of them duke it out, and, well, you know, he has to beat Steve, because you have to beat Steve. Even Steve knew that one going into things. He was like, well, yeah, to be fair, it makes sense. I play the villain, I'm, you know, semi-leader of a death cult. I probably should get my ass kicked at the end of the film. So Steve dies, and little kid lives, and Matt Mullins of Naperville's like, I'm awesome as hell. Yes, he's Matt Mullins of Naperville. I love Matt Mullins of Naperville, by the way. He needs to come back to fucking Naperville sometime, though. Damn it, he's always shooting films and stuff. I want to get some stuff signed by him, or get a picture taken with him or something. Anyway, Matt Mullins of Naperville aside, so, you know, they win the day, and, you know, the only really kind of unfortunate thing is that the reporter girl, Yasuaki Kurata-san's daughter, you know, she ends up being casualty of the whole thing, and sadly she dies, because she was very cute, and, you know, she died. It's always kind of sad when a cute Asian girl dies. I was so pissed when I was watching the Pirates of the Caribbean, and the two Asian twins got killed. I was so mad. So mad. Anyway. Going too deep into shit. Anyway, so okay, and that's the whole thing with that, you know. But they, you know, it ends on a happy note. Them kind of walking away into the, you know, the future, as it were. So that's the movie, right? Yeah, right. That's the movie. So okay, so let's go into the whole little thing. All right, what's the good and the bad? What is there to take away from this film, right? Because that's why I'm doing a review. So, alright, well, the good. Alright, well, the action's pretty badass. I always start with the action because, well, goddammit, it's martial arts action. It's what I have to start out. It's like obligatory. The action is pretty damn cool in it. It's not going to be for everyone. I will be entirely honest. If you are one of these people who's, like, super, like, no wires, no, you know, special effects fighting, you're probably going to have a hard time with it. Not that it's super heavy on it, but it's definitely very stylized. So I just bear that in mind. I'd still suggest watching it, but it's just bear it in mind. But it is very cool. Choreography is pretty badass. You know, Steve and Xing Yu have the great fucking physical chemistry on set, or on film. I don't know how they were on set. Maybe they fucking hate each other. Well, no, I think Steve's Korean, but I'm guessing he can probably speak Mandarin. I don't know, maybe he can't. That doesn't matter. Great casting. Another thing I tend to bring up, but yeah, it had great casting. I mean, everybody from, you know, guys like Matt Mullen, Yasuaki Kurata-san, the guy who plays the prince is Ikechi Hiroyuki, who played the General Mura in Ip Man, the first one, the main villain of that. I wanted to bring that up and I forgot. You know, Jang Bo Chen. I mean, yeah, they just did a really good job with the casting of the film. What else? The cinematography. This was a very well shot film. Martial arts film, if you don't know, there are so many things that can go wrong with a martial arts film that have nothing to do with the actors or anything. If you edit it wrong, if you don't shoot it right, then you just fuck it up. But they didn't do that in this. They actually had a great dramatic sense. They knew where to do things, what to do. Again, I will say this. I mean, they do use like the slow down and speed up things at certain points in time to kind of add to the drama of the fight. Just bear in mind. But I thought it was cool. Another thing I will say that I don't usually bring up in the good section of my things is the story. I had heard from everybody I had talked to about it that, oh, the action's great, but the story's not so good. I disagree entirely. I thought the story, I mean, it could have been, the way it was eventually plotted out was a bit thin at times, but the basis for the story I thought was awesome. I mean, you could have translated this story into an anime, into a cartoon, samurai myth. I mean, you really could have just gone anywhere with it because it's got a great, cool premise to it. So, all right, well, the bad. It's got to be bad, right? Because good and the bad. So the bad. First of all, underuse of certain characters, one specifically being Matt Mullins of Naperville. You have a guy like Matt Mullins of Naperville who is badass, who can kick so much ass, and he doesn't really get one solid fight to himself. I mean, he does get, he fights something, but it's the whole time I'm waiting for him to beat some ass, some Napervillian ass, and he does not beat ass Naperville style, unfortunately, in this film. So just fair warning on that one. Also, Yasuaki Kurata-san, he's another guy I was waiting so much, like, please, let him kill somebody. He's Yasuaki Kurata-san, but he doesn't. But at least in his case, they even say, he's like a special guest for the film, so it doesn't bode well for him kicking ass. What else? At times, the movie is it's not... At certain points in time, like Xing Yu is a guy who, by the way, this is a great example. Another good thing is this is a great example of them crafting the character to meet the actor. Xing Yu comes off to me, generally in his films, as being a very stoic kind of guy, and so that's the kind of role that they gave him, and he does a great job with it. But as far as like creating transition, sometimes in the film, you do run into a few issues, just once in a while. I thought it flowed really well. I mean, the movie is almost 2 hours long, and it didn't feel like it to me. It was just a thoroughly enjoyable film. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I don't know. I guess that's pretty much the bad. I mean, what's the summing up of the film? It's a cool fucking film. It's a great little contemporary martial arts film with fantasy. Well, not contemporary, but modern martial arts film. With its fantasy, it's got little it's kind of almost a horror aspect to it. It's got Matt Mullins in Naperville, Yasuaki Kurata-san. It's got the big guy. And then there are things where it's just like, aside from just being a cool martial arts film, just like I said, like the chemistry between Xing Yu and Steve is just awesome in it. The final fight I thought it was amazing, me personally. But is that important? Of course it is. I'm the guy doing the damn review. So if I think it's amazing, hopefully you think it's amazing. So, okay, where does it stand on the scale, right? Because I'm running a little bit longer than I want to. Me and my pumpkin beer. Where does it stand on the scale? All right. Well, as you know, if you've watched any of my previous reviews, the eternal fucking bottom rung that is Ninja Revenge. Okay? I mean, I like to think of an analogy for it. Let's put it this way. There's like a giant coal or salt mine in Poland somewhere. I didn't watch the History Channel. That's like the oldest salt mine in, I think, the history of anything ever that goes deep as fuck. Even if you went looking for Ninja Revenge there, you would not find it. You wouldn't. So, that's the pit. What's the top? Alright, the top is like, I want to try to keep this under 35, but I'm probably not going to be able to. What's the top? What's the top of the rung? Let me think. What's the top of the rung is if they would have had Matt Mullins fight Yasuaki Kurata-san in this film. That would have been a 10. Where does it stand? Where does the Wrath of Vajra stand in the grand scheme of things and arbitrary numbers? It's like I'd say it's like an 8. I think it's like an 8 or so. Like an 8.2. We'll say an 8.2. What's an 8.2 amount to? 8.2... An 8.2 is like our good friend Steve Yu finding out that he gets to go back to South Korea. Because, like I said, the whole political thing was kind of deported. That's like an 8. Like, that would be like probably be like a 10 for him, but if you found out about it and you were a friend of his or something, that'd be like an 8.2 for you. It's probably not going to make your day, but it's still good news, whenever your friend has good. That's an 8.2. So, that ends that review. So, because you have to be brave when the postman fights back and gives you the dragon eyes, you have to respond with the kick. That was terrible, and it hurt a little bit. See, there you go. That's the reason to watch the review. I hurt myself. Because of all those things and more. I swear I could do a better kick. I'm Brandon Wenzel. I review martial arts films. Why? Because I know Kung Fu. Please tune in for my next video, which will be the special features, where hopefully I'll redeem myself with a halfway decent kick that doesn't hurt me. So, have a good one, folks.